Hi, and welcome to my basic guide on war for Crusader Kings 3. I'm Icon, and we're going to explain a lot about the numbers, the mechanics, and the little things to know about war in Crusader Kings 3. I feel like the tutorial does a great job on explaining how war works in general, but I felt like a lot of things I learned just by playing the game. This is a basic guide. Each topic in this game is pretty deep and would definitely support 2 or more videos to cover up all the details. So after this video, there will be still questions open about the topic of war, but I'm going to make sure that after this video, you know how to make your kingdom larger and to understand how it works to pick a good fight, to compare your power to the power of your enemy, and how to be prepared for nasty surprises. So let's get right started. I want to start out with the number up here, which is your total soldier count. You see here your total number of knights and your total number of levies. Levies are the lowest tier of soldiers in this game. Basically the rabble, which is just getting raised when people are calling for war. The levies are called all together out of the counties, and they are put up together at rally points. You can define new rally points down here at this number, at this button here in the military tab. Quite useful to have several rallying points in your kingdom or your realm in general, so you can react better to threats that happen in your kingdom. So let's give you a little example on that. Let's say I had these rallying points. So you can use each of them for raising the local army or raising all your armies somewhere. Whatever you do or don't, most of the time it's really good to have several rally points, but most of the time you can just create them on the fly. I just wanted to mention that it's there, and it's a really useful tool because you won't be happy with just one rally point. And next up comes the topic about a short talk about knights. Knights are a very, very deep and valuable tool in your army. I just want to make sure that you know that you can force your knights into combat or even forbid them to go into war. This is very important if your main heir happens to be one of your knights. You maybe don't want to send them into war with you. Such things can be managed here. Knights bring prowess, and prowess is pure combat power. Knights are really bolstering up your armies and also commanding your armies, so they are really important for your realm. You always want to have this number filled, basically, if you want to wage war. Next step is the men-at-arms regiments. You have a limit here on how many you can get, so you see it explained why and how it comes together. And men-at-arms are like professional soldiers. You recruit them, you get different selections here out of those topics, and they are a standing army which costs you money. So you see here the full maintenance while they're raised is 0.57 per month, and the unraised maintenance, which is the lower cost while you're out of war, is this. Each of these regiments can be upgraded in terms of stack size. So every regiment here can be upgraded 8 times in numbers. I don't know if it's true for those siege weapons too. I haven't tried that out yet. But what I want to say here is these people are bolstering up your armies quite well. But keep in mind, you see here, light footmen counter heavy infantry, bowmen counter skirmishers. Every man-at-arms regiment is having its own type of its own unit type and gets countered by another unit type. So you see here the basic stats of the armies, and whatever the stats are, really take your time and read it, what they mean, because it does make a big difference to know what these things do. Most of the time, though, there's also terrain effects some units are worse in other terrains, but this is already advanced knowledge. I don't want to explain too much about that. I just want to mention it is there. You can read out the stats and how terrain affects them, but you don't need to be too worried about that too much. What kind of men-at-arms you hire, I'm going to cover up a little bit later. So I want to talk now about mercenaries next. Mercenaries are really powerful allies which you can just raise on the fly. Downside about these, your enemies can do as well. So always expect your enemy's power, especially if you're tackling a large kingdom or such, to increase all of a sudden, because mercenaries are available for everybody. So you want to have an eye on how many mercenaries are available right now. Maybe you want to keep enough money in your hands before waging a war to hire your own mercenaries if necessary. A very good move to have that available. Can only recommend to have this tab available. Holy orders, well, that's something. If you have them, they get explained quite well, but holy orders are just another type of troop that can be raised out of religious purposes. I don't want to talk about that more because that's not content for a basic guide. So, one thing I want to talk about next is the quality of armies. As you see here, the more dots, the better the quality of army. But how does the quality of armies get determined? The quality of an army is always determined by the difference between the amount of bad units and the amount of good units. So if you have thousands of levies and only a few hundred of men-at-arms available, your quality of the army will be quite low. And the quality determines, you see here, quality gauges the power of an army relative to its number of soldiers. That means the higher the quality, the more firepower behind it. So if you want to have really effective armies, you want to have them quite low on levies and high on professionals. But you can't always facilitate that. But sometimes it helps to split armies into more professionals to have more punch. Because honestly, if you're having a perfect army versus a only 2-star army, what's the term? Wait a sec. There was some bad quality here. So here, if you have superior quality versus decent quality, you really start to notice the difference. I would even consider that the Band of Kerns would be able to tackle the Gallo Glasses in a direct combat. I'm not sure, but if the circumstances are good, this is enough to be a problem. Just want to talk about qualities because it's really important to notice that. Now, let's take a look on how to tackle your enemies. First of all, knowledge is key. Check out who you want to attack and check out how strong they are. So when you're attacking a kingdom, you're always attacking everything up to the liege. So you get always the full power of a kingdom against you. So in this scenario, the duchy itself is not too strong, but since it's the kingdom of Norway, I would always aggravate its king as well. Keep that in mind. You gotta be able to tackle the king if you want to attack a smaller portion of the kingdom. My personal experience is if you want to tackle kingdoms, wait until an opportunity arises. For example, in this scenario with Norway, I would wait until Norway's central land is burning for some reason before I try to claim that piece. Always keep in mind, you get the liege's attention when you attack one of its vessels. Very, very important. Apart from that, you always want to check out that your own military strength, of course, is higher than that of the enemy. It's pretty basic. I mean, you're seeing here your enemies are having a quite low military strength, quite easy to take down. But always take a look on your enemy's armies here. Sadly, it's not shown here because we're at the start of a game. So what I'm trying to show you, but it's not possible because the game is at the beginning. You can see in this readout here also the amount of men-at-arms on the enemy side and what type of men-at-arms the enemy has in its roster. So basically, if your enemy runs some men-at-arms, you can always start building your own regiments countering these people. It's also well worth checking this out to be aware of any nasty surprises, because if your own regiments get hard countered by the basic type of the enemy, you're having the same problem like I mentioned before with the quality. And these things really stack up on each other. So if you're having the wrong army with lower quality, you really get busted down even if your numbers are higher. Just want to mention that. So also important to check out is not only the liege of your enemy you want to attack, but also to check out what kind of alliances are happening. You always can see potential alliances and such on this screen here, but I want to show it to you more directly. We can negotiate an alliance, and we're going to negotiate an alliance with this guy. So let's let the time run for a moment until they say yes to that proposal, and there we go. So you see here now that when we click on Earl Waltheof, that our alliance is shown here. Same goes here. Always check out the allies of your enemies. You can get destroyed so hard. Also keep in mind that your own allies always need a certain amount of prestige to be called into a war. So I think that covers up a lot of things that are really useful to know about war in general. So the other thing is, how do I get a chance to do war? So there are several ways to declare war on somebody. First off is the case of seize a de jure county. So de jure means by law. So what does that mean? We're going to get out here and turn on the kingdom title. There we go. So here you see it better. So by fact, this area here is under control of these people here. So, but if we check it out here, the whole kingdom of Scotland is consisting out of these areas. And since I am playing right now the King of Scotland, I have a right to claim all these areas which are part of the Kingdom of Scotland. The game gives you the chance to create kingdoms or duchies or such things, and whenever you create a kingdom and you don't control it completely at this point, you immediately gain a claim on all these areas which are not under your control at this point. So that's one way to claim areas. Another way to claim areas is to have a claim, or to wage war on them, sorry, wrong wording, is to have a claim on them. Claims are things, well, a claim is the right to claim something by birthright or by being relative to somebody. There are several ways on how a claim can be produced, but long story short, as long as somebody in your family is having a claim on something which you want to have, or on your court, you can claim it. So you can see here what kind of titles a person has, and down here the claims would be shown. So that's a really important thing to know. And let's check out the Kingdom of Scotland here. You can also check out who's apart from yourself having a claim on the Kingdom of Scotland. I just wanted to have somebody here. You see here people having a claim get it displayed in this screen here. Quite important, because if you can hire somebody with a claim into your court, you inherit the claim, and then you can press it by doing a war. So that's always a way of doing enlarging your realm. You can invite claimants as a action, as a decision here, and here that costs you prestige. Declaring a war costs you prestige as well, and you can also get claims on areas by using the church. Your bishop has also the option to fabricate a claim on a county. So you use that, and then you decide which county you want to have a claim on, and then your good priest starts to fabricate the claim. After he's done, he's going to ask you for some money to fabricate the claim itself, and then you're good to go. That's basically all you need to fabricate, to do the claim. Keep in mind though, the person you create the claim upon does not like you afterwards because of that, because usually the people know that your claim is nonsense. So that's one thing. Your marshal though has also options which are worth mentioning. You can use him to organize your levies, which increases the speed in which they are replenished, or you can use him to train your commanders, which reduces the maintenance cost for men-at-arms, which is, if your army is comprised largely of men-at-arms, a really big benefit. And also you have a chance of creating new commanders or knights each month if you use that one. So in terms of war, these are the most important things to know. You can also increase the control in a county with your marshal if it is freshly conquered. So I think that sums up the most things to know theoretically about war. There are ways to claim areas depending on your culture as well and your religion. So certain religions allow you to declare holy wars on each and everybody to claim the areas. How to create claims is a mechanic in the game which you will learn to master, and you will learn to keep an eye out on, oh, this culture creates claims on territory like this religion creates claims on this territory like this. You learn to work around that. I just showed you a few basics about. So we're going to do one thing before we end the tutorial here. I want to start a war with you and show you how we're going to do this. So well, we're going to claim this little area here. So if I start to declare war on this guy, I will aggravate a army which is far superior to mine. So I'm not going to win this war if I'm going to declare it. It'll cost me prestige, which is very important to know. Every war does cost you prestige. So but I guess I have no options on declaring wars which won't kill me. Oh, there's one here. This one is actually good. So this man has no liege, nobody who's protecting him, and he's the perfect victim for our little scheme here. So as we see here, the army is vastly inferior. I really like to check out the ruler himself to look for alliances and such. And if you want to be really perfectionist, you also check out the holdings of your enemy to be. Give me a sec. So here we see there's 70 levies on this one and 335 levies on this one. You always need a larger enemy compared to the army, a larger army compared to what's stationed inside a castle to actually siege it successfully. So that's all answered positively. So let's declare war. This is a de jure claim, like I explained before, because it's part of the Scottish kingdom. So we're going to declare war on that. And as we see, this guy is losing opinion because of that. Well, surprise, and there we go. Now to start the war itself, I need to raise my army. You see here I have put up a rally point here, and we're going to raise our armies here. So it'll take 6 days until they are raised, and there we go. So now I have all these armies together here. So that's all my people, and here it's worth mentioning that we can either split the army flat in half, which just will do the decision for you, or split off in a new army at your own choosing. This is really important to know because I think that's your method of creating a powerful army. So you can here decide which knights you split off or which parts of the troops. In this scenario, I'm not going to split off my army, but I'm going to do it once to show you how it's done for the mechanics. So I'm going to split my army in half. Boom. So now I see this here, but both armies are still treated as one. In this situation I have 2 regiments under different commanders, but if I give an order, like right-clicking over here, they're going to march together because they're still packed together as one army. To change that, you have to click here and select this army only, and then you get to control a singular part of your army. I was looking for that function for literally 10 minutes when I didn't know that. And since I want to use both army parts, I'm going to mark them like here and select merge armies, and it's one army again. Just the utter basics, but it helps so much to know that. So now we have to set over to our enemies to the Isle of Man, and let's get started. So they're moving and they're looking for the next best strait to cross the water there. And now we see faction was created against me. That's not a war-related topic, but well, I'm going to talk about it afterwards. So now we got into combat. It's always important to know that your commander's martial skill influences the fighting power of your army. Always keep in mind that this is important. You see here superior quality versus high quality, but that's not really a problem here. We see here what's happening in the fight, and very important is also commanders' advantages against each other. It's actually here our enemies are having a slight advantage against us, which means they're dealing more damage than usual. Here you see the traits of your commanders, most of the time not too important. You see here which kind of terrain the battle is being staged at, and afterwards this is just a battle of dice, where you see here how the battle is being fought, and here there's rolls against each other who's winning the next attack round and such. So you see both armies are getting damaged, but what's quite important to mention is armies during a war rarely get defeated completely. Depending on the stats of your commanders and such, portions of your army will always retreat if defeated and reform somewhere else. So if your army gets defeated out there in the field, don't worry. It's not the end of your war. You're having a chance that people of your staff will die, and you'll only get back the control over your army once it's reformed. You can't control where it's reformed, so your enemy has the initiative on you, which can be really nasty at times. But keep in mind, this does also count for your enemy. You can be sure that every defeated army will come back at some point. You kill off more enemies, the more catch value your armies have. I just want to mention that at a moment here. So you see here, there's the pursuit rating, which you see here, victorious army increases the amount of casualties they inflict in the aftermath of a battle. Just wanted to mention that real quick, because this value is dependent, it is telling you how it's going to work. So let's get to the siege. The siege is going to our favor. We're going to siege this place here. Here you see how the siege is going, how which events are taking place, and how things are going. So if you want to quicken up sieges, bring men-at-arms regiments which are having siege weapons. Very, very useful for that. Another thing which I want to mention here is every holding of your enemy has a certain loot which you can plunder once you have it sieged down. So there's neutral armies marching here. Always keep an eye out on armies moving through your territory. It's always good to know what's happening there. So you see down here is also the war counter. It's plus 100%, and once the war score is plus 100%, you can force your enemy to accept the terms of war. In this scenario, I could now enforce my demands and claim that place, but before I do that, I want to siege down his town here. So you see, this way I was able to occupy this. I don't know, can I occupy this too? No, I can't. So we've won the war, but I could have already ended the war before I ended the siege because my war score was already full. War score is achieved by defeating enemy armies, occupying their territories, and such things. Basically, every victory increases the score, and every defeat decreases the score. So if you're defending against your army, you're against a attacking party, you're doing exactly the same thing the other way around. Okay, so I think that was more than enough information for a basic guide on war. There's only one thing to keep mentioning. After a war is over, disband your armies. You'll gotta be happy about that. So we claimed that island now, and after this, usually the control over the regions is low, so you can now use your marshal on that. Boom. Quick word upon factions. Factions are rebellions, basically ticking time bombs. But I'm not going to explain that too much because that would be a different tutorials topic. So thanks so much for watching. Feel free to drop down a comment down below if you feel like I've missed out a very important detail, which most likely could be. This game has such a deep mechanic and everything. Don't mind me. I'd be super happy if you want to fill the blank spots with me, and I'd be super happy to hear from you as well. And apart from that, leave a like on that video if you want to make it a little bit more visible, and if you think it helped you out. I certainly hope so. And if you want to, leave a subscription down below. It would help me a lot, and you can turn on the notifications if you want to stay notified. And last but not least, I have a Discord server where you can check out all the release schedules on my videos upcoming. So whatever you do or don't, I wish you have a wonderful time, and I hope we're going to see each other again, and I certainly hope you're going to have a lot of fun with Crusader Kings. Bye bye.